All right. Why don't we start with a show and tell, then do some banter? I got an idea here. You know, we're talking about seminars. Why don't we do the show and tell first, Eric, if that's all right? And then I'd like to start a kind of like a discussion group here on a particular topic, and I'll raise it after the show and tell. How's that sound, guys? Good?
Sounds good.
All right. Over to you, Eric. You want to start?
David,
hold on.
Have you made me host?
Yeah, give me a second here. Where am I going here?
Thank you, sir.
While they're doing that, isn't it great? Like, I can actually sit here, and you guys know I'm working on my model because I'm not looking at you guys, and that's perfectly fine, so I appreciate that.
What are you building? Oh, you're looking at porn. He's looking at Pornhub.
Yeah, right, that too. I'll show you later. Actually, it's on the show and tell.
All right, so tonight we got about, I think we got about 7 people send in pictures, and then we'll have Glenn, he sent me a link, so we'll put his up. Then I will pass it over. John Wong just wants to take over and just kind of show his own pictures. If that's all right, David, we'll let John host for a short period. And then we have a video from Gates. Harvey, do we want to show that tonight?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so let's do all the show and tell first, and then we'll end it with Gates' short video. So alphabetically, we'll start with Amanda. You sent in.
Hold on.
Purple haze.
That's cool.
There you go.
That's cool.
Ooh, Junkers 86.
That's the photo recon version.
Hi.
All right.
Okay, so I picked this up at Hamilton for $5.
What? Where'd you pick that up?
Hamilton, about 3 years ago.
Wow.
I had only
$5.
Crap. That's a rare kid, Amanda.
And it was like, damn. It's not bad. Needs a little cleaning and that, but it's I mean, $5 can convert a Junkers 86 into a more obscure version.
Let's see. Oops.
Is
That's
it
a
a
really
full-
interesting wing design. Is that a high altitude reconnaissance or something?
Oh, there we go.
Oh, real high.
Crap.
So is
They
it a
tried
full?
to get a Spitfire to chase it, but by the time it got up there, it was already miles away.
Yeah, they actually saw combat in the Battle of Britain.
So is this a full kit or a conversion? Because
Version.
it's a conversion. And what's the donor? What's the donor kit?
Italy Junkers 86.
Ah,
Okay.
I had an old one and I just cut certain parts off it and just reused it because it was an old kit I had built, but the resin is nice. It's just a nice find at Hamilton.
Yeah.
$5, like, couldn't go wrong.
That looks so cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's something, John Wong, that's something I know you would probably do, wouldn't you?
No room for a wingspan that size.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Is that
Yeah,
the old, the stinky resin?
I don't know. I have no sense of smell, so I wouldn't be able to tell you.
we got COVID.
Nice guys.
Yeah, really.
Blue.
Such a welcoming group.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is cool.
Trumpeter's M915 tractor trailer.
Okay.
It's a civilian truck used in the military for cargo transport.
Okay.
Which nation?
U.S. It was
So
built
is it-
by International, but it's another company's truck. It's,
Amanda, would that be Iraq or Afghanistan?
Iraq, Afghanistan, Europe, United States. They got over 10,000 of these trucks together.
Wow.
Is this Italy, the kit?
No, Trumpeter,
And what scale?
35th.
35th. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a good sized truck.
I can imagine.
Yeah, that takes up the whole bench.
Issues with it because it seems they've combined the 915 and the 915A1 and A2. So they've kind of mishmashed the tractor.
Excellent. Thanks for sending those in. Up next, we have Chuck.
Mr. Rothman.
Okay, so this is the Tamiya Stug. I think these pictures are out of order. At the end, you'll see what I'm building.
You want me to go to those first?
Yeah, go to the photographs first. Okay, so this is a Stug in Greece in April 1941. It's a lineup of Stug. And I got a couple of pictures of them. And actually, if you go to the next one,
That's a good one.
it has 29, I think it's 29 jerry cans strapped to the back of it. So this is the kit I'm building, or this is the vehicle I'm building. So I took the, it's an early B, which means that I had to scratch build some stuff and make a few little minor changes to it. I used tools from Dragon Stugs because they're better where I could. The axe I actually had to modify because the clasps were on the wrong side. The next one. What's next? I did the wiring for the lights, for the horn and the side lights, and I added in the welds. I had to scratch build the smoke candle thing because it's an early Stug E, and the later ones had the later armored ones, which is what came in the kit. So I just scratched built that. It wasn't that hard. I thought it'd be a lot harder. And I'm using Master Club tracks. I actually got these tracks a long time ago. I thought that they were the 360 millimeter tracks, but it turned out they weren't. So I could never use them on anything, but then I finally discovered that they were used on the Stug. So these are workable tracks. I still have to clean out some of the guide horns because the molding on the guide horns wasn't great, but the tracks went together pretty well. And that's about it. So I'm up to the point now where I got to do a little bit more tools, and then I'll start on the jerry cans.
Chuck, where's the barrel from?
It came in the kit.
Looks quite nice, actually.
Yeah, and it has rifling inside.
Yeah, that's what really impressed me.
Yeah.
Chuck, are the markings from the kit too?
Not for the vehicle that I'm doing, except for the cross, but I got tons of German markings. I'll be able to cobble something together.
With the clamps for the spare cable, like the tow cable stowage on the rear deck, where did those come from? Because those are obviously a different color than the.
Yeah, those are left over from a Dragon Stug. Because the Dragon kits, at least the F2.
Yeah.
It came with both cable with the clamps molded on and the cable clamp separate. And so the kit I built, I used the cable, and I had these left over.
Nice, yeah.
That wiring at the front, what's the, is that like blue epoxy that's holding onto it? What's that blue stuff?
Where? What blue stuff?
On the wire that's for the horn?
Oh, it's masking tape.
Oh, okay.
Because if you look at the real one, it has little clamps.
Right.
Like little, really tiny clamps. And so all I did was I took masking tape and folded it around, and I guess it'll work.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah,
Chuck, that must be 135th, eh?
Yes.
And is that that's that kit motorized?
No. No, the kits, I think Tamiya came out with it probably around 2000, maybe a little bit later, maybe 2005.
I seem to remember a motorized Tamiya one.
Oh, yeah, that was
1970 or something.
Yeah, that was a really old piece of fun.
Okay.
Did you scratch build that gun barrel, Chuck? I love the rifling you put in.
I didn't put, yeah. No, that came in the kit. And the photo etch, well, actually, it came with photo etch for the air cleaner, for the air intakes. But I had Aber photo etch, so I used that because it was better.
Nice.
Are you scratch building the jerry cans?
Yeah, right. No, I looked around to see how I could get 30 jerry cans without spending like 150 bucks. And I discovered AFE Club. In one box, they have 30 jerry cans.
Oh, wow.
So I got, and actually at, so I was going to order it online and then have to wait months to get it. But I found that Pinnacle Hobbies in Markham had one. And so I went over there and got it. So it was like 20 bucks for 30 jerry cans. So now I just got to assemble them. Some of them are the early German type, but I don't care because they're going to be in the middle, so no one's going to tell.
Very good.
They have a different X pattern on them.
All right, up next, we have Darren sent in a couple shots.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So this is something, actually, I just want to say tonight would be my 6th anniversary of my first appearance at a IPMS Toronto meeting.
Wow.
And it was shortly after that I brought this kit. This is something I've been working on for at least 5 to 6 years, but probably like the turret dates from a kit that I kind of like swapped it out of probably over 10 years ago. Like I've really got this problem with building kits in a decent amount of time. But yeah, this is the Dragon Panther G kit. And it's just got like a bunch of stuff. If you want to ask about the aftermarket, I mean, I could list it off, but if anybody's curious about what aftermarket I'm using on it, go ahead and ask. Just ask. I've been doing like the turret alone. It's got like an MA Mori cupola on it. I redid the pilts and sockets. The gas detector panels are, I spent an evening doing those out of like bits from the old Aber set and bits of like hex rod cut down and what is it? Wing nuts. Yeah, wing nuts from the Dragon kit. But yeah, this is something, it's sort of like I work on stuff and then I just kind of lose interest and I go on to something else. So this has been going on for like 11 years, this thing. But I probably am within like maybe a couple of weeks of starting to paint it, I think.
Looks great, Darren.
Thank you.
Yep, looks fantastic. Okay, let's see.
Wow, nice.
Let's see, I'm up next, actually. So you'll recall last meeting I showed, I had only completed the cockpit on this Panther. So since then, I've been busy getting it, the fuselage finished off. I've tried something new this time since if you're familiar with the Panther, it's a very dark blue aircraft. So I'm trying to show some panel line variation by almost kind of reverse reshading on it. Try to do some highlights and then hoping they'll show through. First attempt, it didn't show through as much as I wanted. It's better than this picture would have you believe, but still not as strong as I was hoping for. So I went back and used it, lightened up the blue just even a little bit more, came back and kind of just manually, did some of these middle of panels, added some where there's internal structure, added some of this stuff. So
Very nice.
Bottom of that. So that one's well underway. This is ultimately what it's going to look like, and I'm going to. The plan is it's really such a simple paint scheme, just blue with white markings. I'm going to and paint all the stencils and writing and insignias and stuff like that. There may be the odd small decal that I won't be able to paint, but that's the plan for the. Already gone so far to design up the set of masks now, so I'll probably cut those this week and start start spraying some paint. So next meeting, I hope to have it all.
Eric, have you seen Bridges at Tokori?
There you go, Vince. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I love that movie. It's a horrible movie, but man, watching those Panthers taking off. Oh,
What is that, Eric?
That's
awesome.
the what is this one? This one? Trumpeter.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, it's looking great. Yeah,
Gorgeous.
it's subtle. It's subtle. I can still see it, the shading though, Eric. So it's
Yeah, it comes through better in person than it does in the photos, actually. So,
And which blue are you using, or blues? Are you using multiple blues, or?
I mean, the base one it's like a Tamiya, what do they call it? Like just U.S. Navy blue or something to that effect, and then I tweak it from there.
Isn't it midnight blue?
It's not midnight, no.
Is it XF17 or something like that?
It should be non-specular sea blue.
Right.
10042 or 35042. It looks like it's flat, and then you lighten it to play with it.
What a nerd.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what a nerd.
You
Who
remember?
let that guy in on the call?
It was in the Airfix instructions.
Smart ass.
And he read them.
Does anybody remember Replica in Scale, the magazine?
Yes. Yes.
I believe in my deep archives, I have the Replica in Scale dedicated to the Panther and Cougar.
Oh wow.
I'm gonna have to go find that. That was a great magazine.
It actually still exists as a blog.
Yes, it does.
We have Gates up next. Gates, I think you're joining.
Hi guys.
There he
Hey,
is.
Gates.
I want to thank our friend David for finally hooking me on. I was unable to get the password working, but thanks, Dave.
No worries, Gates. I figured there has to be a way around it, so I'm glad I was able to find it. So
Well, you found a way. Thank you very much.
And Gates, we'll play your video right after the show and tell.
Okay, thank you. This is the Freeman House. This is one of the focal point at the Railroad Museum in Burlington. I've been working there for about 3 years. And this is the Freeman House. It's a 3D building. And all I did was put it together and weather it. Guess how much the cost is. This is in 1/35 scale. Does anybody would care to guess how much this costs to do in 3D?
Too much.
$500.
Over 2,000.
Wow.
And the museum was willing to do it because the Freeman family immigrated to the Burlington area in the early 1900s. And the great grandson, I had a meeting with him. And when we shared with him the project, he went to the committee and I wouldn't say he forced him, but he was definitely influential in getting them to say yes. So there it is, the Freeman House.
What was the significance of the Freeman family? Were they industrialists or something?
What they what?
What was the significance of the Freeman family?
Oh, when the Freeman immigrated to Burlington in the early 1900s, they originally were from England. They lived in the Maritimes for a while, Nova Scotia. And then they came to Burlington because this was an area in the early 1900s where the entire community were orchards, apple, peaches. I lived in Burlington in the early 70s and I had 2 peach trees in my backyard.
Wow.
The weather in that area is very, very convenient to grow fruit.
Right.
And there's a whole story. Like if ever you go in Burlington and you see this this museum, it's quite interesting. The entire basement was converted to build a 50-foot wide, 12 feet deep diorama. And this is what I've been involved with. This diorama is number 24. I've created 24 dioramas for that museum in the last 3 years.
So Gates, who drew this up?
You mean to do the actual 3D building?
No, yeah, who drew up the 3D building?
Okay, his name is Anthony Chow. He's a fellow that I met at one of the shows, the sword, brush and sword show. It's mostly miniature soldiers.
Yeah.
Any one of you guys have been to that show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Jordan Rush, yep.
2 years ago, he had a booth there, and him and I, he was introduced to me by Dave Bailey, of course, of all people, the one who knows everyone. Anyway, Anthony and I, we had a long meeting, and I told him about that project, and he came down to Burlington. We took literally hundreds of pictures to get it right, because you're only seeing one face of the building now, but it was built in the late 1800s. So there's a lot of nook and crannies and so forth. Yeah.
And how was it printed? I mean, how many components?
Izzy, it's okay. Good girl.
How many what?
When it was printed, first of all, was it printed on a printer that he had, or?
Well, I'm not that technical, but my basic understanding as the project was evolving was that he put all of the design, all of the plans in a computer.
Yeah, I know what 3D print. No, what I'm saying is, did he use his own printer? Did you go to another?
Oh yeah, he has about a dozen printers. He does this for a living. Yeah,
and
he has about a dozen. Yeah.
And how many parts? How many individual parts?
How many components? I would say at least a rough count, anywhere from 15 to 20.
Okay. Wow. And how big is this in 35th scale? That's going to be a pretty sizable.
Yeah,
house.
it's about 18 inches by 2 feet deep, about 2 feet deep. Yeah.
Wow.
2.5 feet deep. It's
beautiful.
It's a little bit heavy, and when you look really close, when you look at it really close, you can tell it's 3D printing. You know,
because of the lines.
Yeah, because of the lines. Yeah, but you have to look close. He had to do many retakes on this because it's very complex. It has many angles, many shapes, and so forth.
You don't have any under construction.
Is this the same guy who did the figures in 3D?
Yeah, he did figures also. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would be great.
Yeah.
You know what, Gates?
What?
Harvey, I would love to have this guy on one of our meetings.
Yeah.
Have him go through.
Gates, would he do that?
Oh, I think he would. I think he would. You'd find him very interesting. He's very articulate. Yeah.
Why don't you give him a call and reach out if you can come on one of our future meetings?
Okay.
I guess I'm up next.
Sir. What order do you want to do?
I'm back to armor. It's Harvey here. I'm back to armor now after doing a couple of 48th scale aircraft. Sorry, John Wong. This is a Japanese Chiha medium tank. You see the chassis, but it's fitted with a naval 120 millimeter artillery piece to make it into a self-propelled gun. There were a few of these produced at the end of World War II. They all were deployed in Japan in the home islands. So there are photographic references to this vehicle. It's an actual vehicle. It's not a paper panzer or anything like that. This one here, you can see the American officer looking at it with a Japanese officer near the vehicle itself. Just a couple of interesting facts I found out about this vehicle. Because the gun was so heavy, it really played on the suspension of the vehicle, and the position of firing had to be what you see in this picture. In other words, the gun could not be fired, in a T position offset because it basically would flip the vehicle over. The recoil was so bad. So it had to be fired, this way or to the rear, not to the sides. It was a highly modified Chiha chassis, as you'll see in the model I'm working on. And that's basically, I took the dragging kit, and I had some plans from some guys in Japan, which allowed me to build you see the white styrene? That's the plates that they added on so they could stand on top of the tank. They took the turret off. They also replaced the machine gunner's position with a solid, just a piece. You see that yellowish piece up front there? The gun is pretty well entirely scratch built from Evergreen and aftermarket, spare parts box. I was looking forever for a half decent barrel because nobody would make one. And I was at an AMPS show where Brett Avance, he's the guy that sells figures. He had a whole bunch of barrels from a Russian company. Sorry, I forget the name. I'll note it later. It's going in a magazine article, but it was a perfect fit. So the barrel is a turned aluminum barrel, a metal barrel, on top of a highly. There you go. There's a close up of the.
There's the gun
yeah,
itself.
there's the gun itself. And it's basically evergreen sheet and tubing put together. Another angle of that. It's obviously now I also added a, it's by MR Models. They actually sell this in 1/35. It's an ammo trailer right there. It's actually not bad. And that is all resin. But the tracks were crap. And so I had to use tracks from a Polish TK, and they fit. But that's going to be where the ammo was pulled on this vehicle. Next slide. That's where I'm at today. Now, sitting at home, you got nothing to do. So I went on a whirlwind 6-hour painting spree yesterday, and I managed to basically pull this off in 6 hours. Basically, it's you can see there's some very aggressive chipping. Next slide, actually, might show you a bit more. Yeah, and it's the Hairspray Technique. You notice that the panels that the guys step on that I added, I kind of took some artistic liberty and painted them in primer, a red, and then did the green on top, and then chipped it away with the Hairspray Technique. There's with this type of undercoat of the red, brown, and the beige, I wanted to also modulate the finish, kind of like what Eric did to his Panther, so I had to be quick. If you're using the Hairspray Technique, I find it works best when you start taking the stuff off fairly quickly after the paint application. Apply a couple of drops of Tamiya retarder in your paint. Just go real quick on the modulation, doesn't have to be perfect, and chip it away. So this whole thing went from what you saw in the pre-build. 6 hours got to me this, which is a bit of a record for me. So the next step is weathering. Is there another slide? I can't remember.
No, that's everything you sent.
So that's, yeah.
Pretty weathered.
Sorry, John. Yeah.
That's pretty weathered with the paint chipping.
Well, that's all just by the airbrush and the chipping. There's no washes. There's no filter. There's nothing on that thing. Everything's done by airbrush so far.
Did you burn out your compressor in 6 hours?
Yeah, I did. Actually, I did. I've already blown like 2 airbrushes in the past. When I did an 8-hour session once. So, but I got it done, and I had nothing else to do. So there you go.
I was going to ask that is the Dragon Chiha kit, right? Yeah. How does that is that up to the same standards as their Ha-Go kit?
It's actually, that's a good question. Their Ha-Go kit's better. This particular Dragon kit of the Chiha, that's a good question, Darren. The fit is okay. It's actually not great around the hatches, so you got to do a lot of filling around there. If you're a real aficionado of Chihas, the rivets and bolts are a tiny bit undersized. Believe it or not, the best size bolts and rivets on a Chiha are actually the early 70s Tamiya Chiha. It's still very good. Now Darren knows this, but I'm well into writing a book on Japanese armor, camouflage and markings. So it'll probably be about 2 years out. I've got a guy doing the artwork. And there'll be more on this later, but when I was in Japan, there's not a lot written on Japanese armor, particularly in the variants and the camo and colors. So stay tuned for that. I should be having some fun with that one.
Wow.
Nice.
So were they targeting what ships off the coast or?
Yeah. The idea was that they would be mobile self-propelled gun units awaiting the invasion of the American fleet. So they didn't see combat. They were deployed, but they never saw actual combat, obviously because of the atomic bombs. They were mostly deployed in Kyushu in the Southern Islands.
Any idea how many they made?
Yeah, they made, I think that, well, no one really knows, but they did make a handful of maybe 10 to 15 of them. And this picture, by the way, because they took the gun from naval ships, you can see in this black and white photo that the barrel was probably naval gray and then with green camo. The references from Japan, it's because it's not an army Chiha, it's a Navy Chiha. And if you guys are into Japanese colors, the Navy actually painted their land tanks mostly olive greens, okay? Not the grays that you'd normally think. So that's why the model here is depicted in green, and the barrel will be gray.
That would be what caliber?
120 millimeter.
120.
Yeah.
So that would have a range of, I don't know, 20 miles, something like that?
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's significant enough, absolutely, because these guns were major secondary weapons on Japanese battleships.
Didn't they hang a pair of these underneath Ju-87s?
Yeah.
You had one shot.
Yes. Yes.
Harvey,
yeah.
Harvey, was there a some kind of little crane or a little something to get the ammunition on top of the tank hull?
Yeah, there probably was. Yeah, you're right. But there's no photos of it. Otherwise, if
Right.
there was, I would have built one. Yeah, absolutely. They had to get them over there somehow.
Yeah, because I can't imagine the rate of fire would have been
Yeah.
significant. Just
Yeah, but
handling.
you know what? It's crazy what you find, Matt, on the web. They actually interviewed one of the veterans, one of the guys that manned one of these things. That's how they know that you couldn't fire the gun on certain angles. So they did see exercise action and things like that. They were deployed.
Yeah, very cool.
Thanks.
Very unique. Wow.
Well done. Well done.
All right, and the last of the pictures that I had sent in was from Paul. Sent one.
Ooh.
So this is a 172nd.
Holy crap! 72nd.
Academy, yeah, Academy. Like I said, it came with a Kettenkrad, Kubel wagon, and they're pretty cool little kits. In the front there, that's the engine that comes with it. And hatch, the engine hatch, actually, you can have it open. So I figured, well, no. And in the photo etch is Orange 3D Miniatures. They did a couple of Jeep sets, and they had a Rose set for this Kubel wagon. It has more parts. You know, that's just the one. The video actually has like a 3-pack too that goes with it and starts. And that's pretty cool. And I thought I would open the door. And you see, like on the inside, on the other side of the door, it's kind of scored.
Yeah.
Like halfway through. So I had the idea, you know, maybe you could just cut it with an X-Acto knife. The plastic's kind of soft, and I soaked it in some warm water, kind of bent the door open. Looks pretty cool. Without it wasn't that much work. Yeah, it wasn't that much work, and it didn't even need much cleanup. So that part came cool. Well, the next part is just have to paint the interior and then work on some more of the photo etch. With a lot of photo etch, you know, different parts like the covers and all sorts of other crap, you know, that goes with it. Headphone, stuff like that. I might try and
photo etch from
drill the holes in the wires for the radio, maybe.
That's very nice.
Yeah. That's a pretty fancy coating machine up on top there, gold.
Yeah, it's a radio. Actually, the gap in the radio is at the bottom, not at the top. It's just kind of sitting in there at the moment. And I had to do a bit of a surgery to the seats to get it to fit in there.
Very cool.
Yeah. Right. Next up we have. Here we go. Glenn, you're up next.
Oh, cool.
There's a little bit of history about starting this. I've never built a mini art kit, and I like weird and wonderful stuff. So I grabbed this off the shelf. I wanted to do something out of the box. Cue the hilarious laughter because I don't do out of box.
No, you don't.
Yeah. So I grabbed this thing and I thought, oh, okay, well, it's 35th scale. I like weird scales for aircraft. So I looked it through the instruction sheet. It didn't look that difficult. It's a fairly low parts count, and it's a very unique subject. So I started in on this just, you know, to get my mind off serious modeling projects. And I made it as far as I think the first 3 steps, and I kind of gave up on the out-of-box thing.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's superb, that engine.
You know what? It's very nice. It's about maybe an inch and a quarter, inch and an eighth diameter. But I decided I want to have the spark plug leads on there. So there goes my out of box.
Fantastic.
But yeah, gave me a chance to work on some heat staining on the exhaust. I've never built a radial engine before, ever. That's the first one that I've ever done.
Wow.
The parts count is you know, pretty substantial for that little engine. So I'm pretty proud of that. So I put that off to the side. And now I'm just almost done the cockpit, just working on the final seat. And another first, it's the first time I ever did photo etch seat belts, which came with the kit. So that's where I am right now.
The seat belts. Is that tape?
No, that's photo etch. And they're very, very thin photo etch. They're half etch. The top belts, there's 2 pieces there. Bottom pieces there for each lap belt, there's 2 pieces. And it's really, really easy to bend these things. Hand painted after some priming. And, you know, it's killing me a little bit inside that I'm not adding any linkages or anything past the all the knobs and everything on the side. But I figured, nope, gonna try out of box as best as I can. And that's where I am to date.
That'll last until about tomorrow evening.
Yeah, Glenn.
Yep.
You're gonna go over that cockpit.
You know me well.
Glenn, is that the one that's at Duxford, I think?
I don't know.
I've photographed one in the last 10 years over there somewhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of examples all over the world. It's this one is the RAF version.
Then it might be the one in Hendon.
Avro.
Yeah.
It's actually a Spanish design called Sierva C.30, made in the 30s by a Spanish company.
Yeah, I've seen it because it was like, whoa, you know, you don't forget those things.
Yeah, yeah. So Focke-Wulf made these, and Mini Art has, you know, maybe 2, maybe 3 kits, just with different markings, maybe different instrument panels. But you know what? It's going to be a tiny little kit. The fuselage can't be any longer than 6.5 inches long.
Wow.
Maybe. And it's, you know, I'm very impressed with the molding and the scale of Mini Art.
I'll bet you, Glenn, that your next engine will be a diesel engine for a U-boat.
No, man, you know me. I don't do interiors.
Yeah, that's what you say now. That's what you.
I say that now. Yeah, actually, I have the next one picked out. It's another Mini Art 35th scale. It's one of those synchrocopters. I think it's called a Calibri. And that'll probably be the next one up, just because it looks weird.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Works. All right.
Impressive.
We're going to hand it over to Mr. Wong to show us around his latest project here. So, John, I'll make you the host here once I.
Okay, let me unmute and let me find my picture, share screen.
All right, you should be good to go.
And which one do I go to first? This one. Everybody see this nice, pretty.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Ooh.
Yak 53.
Yep.
This is interesting. This one's actually registered American already, a civilian aircraft. So it was sold out of the Russia Federation, Soviet Union, whatever, I don't know. It started when I walked through AvWorld and I saw the A model half price clearance, $12. I've never built it. I'll try it.
A models. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'll try it.
John, you don't take on anything that's really simple, do you?
It's just, I thought, oh, civilian airplane, it's got to be pretty color schemes, right? If I don't want to do red stars. Well, silly me, they only built one of these. That's it. I don't have a lot of choice of paint schemes.
That's cool.
There's a different view of the same airplane. It was up for sale probably about 8 or 9 years ago, and it had been stripped. But that's the only color schemes I could find for this thing.
That's pretty good looking.
Yeah, it's like, okay, and I ended up doing the white scheme anyway, but that's my choice of paint schemes. You know, I got no choice at all.
Excellent.
So, A model. The basic kit is pretty straightforward, simple airframe. And when I was doing this, I puttered with it at the cottage through the summer off and on, right? And then a couple of months ago, Bernie Hanks calls me and he says, John, you got any clear plastic for vacuum forming canopies? And I said, Bernie, you bought a whole bunch a couple of years ago and you sent me a ton of it. Did you use up all yours? And then he said, oh, no, wait a minute. I know what you're talking about. So he found his stash. But then he told me, I'm doing a Yak 50 and the canopy doesn't fit. So he's got to make a new one. Well, the Yak 50 is exactly like this airplane, except it's a tail dragger on the same airframe. So the moment he said that, I better go look at the canopy on my kit because I hadn't even looked at it at this stage of the build. And I put it on, and you can see just how well it actually sits on this.
Ouch.
Wow.
It's like, okay, let's just toss this. So there's another view of it. It's like, okay, this isn't even salvageable.
Did you have to rescribe it, John?
Yeah, the panel lines were scribed, but I kind of went over it to clean it up and make it a little better defined. And then I'll show you in later photos, I riveted it as well.
Oh my God.
But yeah, are you seeing this Microsoft window thingy on my? Yeah.
You see the canopy?
Okay, there's the canopy. And what I did was I just put saran wrap on the inside and I just mushed milliput into the inside of it, which gave me the rough shape. And you know, there's divots and everything else. That's where you see the gray putty to fill it and smooth it out and reshape it after I did that. So there.
Oh.
Oh man.
That's
Wow. So is that your blank there, John? Like that you're gonna now.
Exactly.
The master. Sorry, the master. Yeah.
That's the master. So I'll vac form over this to make a new canopy.
Very nice.
It's not perfect, but it's like, okay, this is supposed to be a simple build just to pass the time. I'm not going to go nuts making everything fit perfect. It's close enough. So that's the master. And you're seeing finished product now.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Wow. That's what it looks like finished up now in that Russian scheme. The canopy,
John, those are the decals? Those are the kit decals?
No. I looked at the kit decals again because I riveted it. I looked at it. They've got that flat finish, which tells me it was overcoated and flat varnish. There's no way they were going to sit down into the rivets. So all the big red bands of color are painted, and the decals are the Yak 53 logo on the nose, the 06, and the stars are decals. Everything else is painted.
Wow. So John was a tail sitter?
Yeah, it's that's another story in itself. You see the little exhaust ducts underneath here?
Yeah.
In the kit, it's attached to a little disc bulkhead that sits right about there. And looking at this thing, I said, okay, well, I need a ton of weight in the nose. So everything aft from that bulkhead, I stuffed weight into it, right? So I put all the thing together. I think I got enough weight. I'm good. And I put the landing gear on. I wasn't even close to having enough weight. It's because that landing gear, that main gear has a forward rake.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Literally at least 1/8 of an inch farther back, right? On something this size, which is not that big, I had nowhere near enough weight. Oh shit, how do I do this? Well, forward of that little disc bulkhead was their provisions for mounting the prop shaft and stuff. And it's all blocked off by that fan disc in front. So I still had an empty compartment. So I pounded the better part of 2 split shot fishing weights into flat disc, put it in there and stuffed that forward compartment full of weight. And then all the little space I had left around from the little pieces I got left over, I was stuffing around the edges of it. And I finally got enough in it to make it sit on the nose.
Wow. Liquid gravity works for stuff like that too. Like after the fact.
Or can I just turn off the gravity vector or something?
And a small piece of a neutron star, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the thought of gluing this thing to a base cross my mind really seriously if I couldn't get enough weight in. But
Can you imagine when somebody goes to pick that up and it weighs like 45 pounds?
Braces, it's small, so it's only so much weight. You can see some of the rivet lines there. And it is just riveting practice for me more than anything else. This model, and that's such a simple thing. I say, what can I do to play with it?
What riveting tool did you use, John?
It's Rosie 0.5 millimeter.
Oh, 0.5, yeah.
Yeah. Apart from that, the rest of the kit is out of the box, apart from all the lead you stick in front. and the pitot I changed out, and that was it.
John, quick question on the canopy and the vac forming. Are you using, is your vac form tool, is it the standard one, like is it one that you built yourself?
Yeah, it's a homemade unit. Jerry Brennan built me the box. I had a much cruder arrangement previously. Jerry was nice enough to build me one years and years ago. Harvey was talking about vac forming. I don't know where you got your box from, Harvey, but it wasn't from me. But
oh, you gave it to me. Somebody must have given it to you.
Yeah, I don't even remember what it looked like. Yeah, but it's
it's a very easy process.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you can, Mattel used to make a vacuum form way back in the early 60s.
Is that still worth getting, Vince, the Mattel vacuum form machine?
I got mine at a vintage shop, and I think I did some canopies for Grant a long time ago. It works. It's amazing that this was considered a toy in the early 60s. It's all metal, sharp edges, it heats up. I guess back then kids were just more responsible, but I'm pretty sure a few of them ended up in the Emerge. They used the same platform was used for, does anybody remember creepy crawlers? Those of us of a certain age?
Yeah.
So they used that for creepy crawlers. Decades later, there was a remake or a reissue of a vacuum form, and I'm not sure if it was Mattel or someone else had bought the rights to it. But it used a light bulb. I mean, I've had success with it. I've done a few things in the past. Hold on a sec. I will get it.
Can I say something about that vacuum form thing?
Yeah, next month I should have my new one finished. I'm building one, but I use an oven and I've got a frame, but I've got to do some funnels for a friend in Australia. So we're going to try and keep the weight down. But I've also got the plastic that John uses, which is not styrene. It's PET-G.
Yeah.
But my supplier sells it at styrene because nobody knows the difference.
Yeah, the clear stuff I use, it's I find styrene just doesn't behave well under heat.
Yeah, the clear stuff.
Yeah, the clear stuff. This stuff is nice. It's reasonably rubbery, so you can work with it without.
Yeah.
About the PET, about the Mattel vac form, it's hard to get the blank sheet for it now.
Oh, Alex, okay, Alex, thinking of you in this because you weren't at the last meeting where I was talking about this. If you send me the pattern you want for the sheets, I can knock you off some.
They got a lot of holes in them. I'll tell you that right now.
I know. Like I said, I can make up a jig for it if you want.
A jig to do?
Yeah.
Cut the hole?
If you send me what you want, I can jig it up for you.
Okay, it's the clear sheets I'm looking for. Like for
I know. I've got the clear sheets. I went and bought a whole bunch.
Oh, okay. All right. I can draw that.
Mine are 18 by 22. I can make anything.
Okay, I can draw them up. So.
Yeah.
All right.
In the meantime, while we're waiting for Vince, there's the underside of it. It's pretty simple underneath. That's the last.
I'm just curious about how you got the piping on the propeller tips.
I just masked that. I shot the propellers white. So put a thin white strip of masking tape around it for the white, and then mask inboard of that, shoot the red on the tip, and then mask off the whole tip and shoot the rest.
Oh, okay, very cool.
So it's just using masking tape in any which way you can.
Any special masking tape?
Tamiya.
Okay, because I've got 4 propellers to do on a 1/172nd C-130, so it's going to be a while again.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Well,
you've
I'm
got
asking.
bigger prop tips to work with too, so you get better stick.
Yeah,
Tamiya masking tape. Very good. Thanks.
So just another view of that puppy. I heat when I'm vac forming, I'm heating over the stove and I'm using just a household vacuum for suction.
yeah. So thinking of that, John, to make mine, years ago, I learned that the best thing in the void that you're drawing it out is to keep the space as small as possible and fill it with marbles because they're round and the air flows through it.
Nice.
And it keeps it even. So
Nice.
get this, thinking of things that have sold out because of COVID, I can't get any marbles.
So you've lost all yours?
I've lost mine and can't buy any new ones.
Jonathan, they're in, I saw some in the dollar store.
Yeah, that's where okay, well, what dollar store? Where, Harvey?
Toronto, on
yeah.
Steels.
Steels and?
Long Street.
Steels and Carpenter.
Where's that?
Okay.
Where is it? It's west of Bathurst.
Okay.
Yep.
Main Exchange, that's what it's called.
So, real
there you go,
quick,
Vince.
here's the Mattel Vacuform. That gives you a sense of size. You can tell it's ancient because if you take a look at the cord, it's 2-pronged.
Yep.
So you're going to electrocute yourself. Here is the platen.
Yeah.
Where you put the, hang on a second here. I've got this figured out.
I'm just looking on eBay.
Figured out.
It's
The
100.
plastic goes in here, in this carrier. This is where the model, where your master goes. There's a bunch of little holes in there, if you see them. The vacuum is generated, not electrically, but rather you push down, and that generates the vacuum. There is a cylinder.
Oh.
You see that?
Yeah.
Incredibly clever. I mean, in terms of industrial design, this is really a nice piece of work.
Yeah.
You know, I can imagine getting this as a kid in the early 60s. The box, the kit came with all manner of, see, the plastic goes in here and there's a clamshell and it closes up like this. The heater is here. It's dirty, guys. Forgive it. So this is a heater. This warms up. You put your plastic here. You'll get a bit of a droop. Over, suck down.
Cool.
Like I said, just as a toy, this is beyond a toy as far as I'm concerned. Like this is just brilliant. The way it was designed. There's a heating element, the vacuum element. It came with all sorts of little masters. You could make racing cars and all sorts of things. And you know what? I probably paid too much. I don't care. You know, as a piece of mid-century design, I just think it's priceless. Now, okay, what can you do? You can do a canopy. You put a canopy in diagonally. Like if you're doing like a TF-104, that's probably the extent of the size of it. So anyway, yes, but
Vince, it's still a good deal because I went chasing after the one I used to use at school, which is about not quite 1 foot by 2 foot, probably 14 by 18. And we paid for the school about $700 or $800. They're now 3,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
Well, this reminds me, as soon as this meeting's over, it's going to get cleaned. Remember, it's Mattel. It's swell.
Yeah. Did you get an easy bake oven? Because that used a light bulb too.
I have a 1970 easy bake oven that my sister had in avocado green.
Oh,
that's classic.
Baby.
Yes.
Avocado green is
oh
classic.
my God.
That's kind of worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Actually, they're not worth as much as you think. Although I tried selling it to a vintage shop, and obviously this person didn't know what an easy bake oven was, because she said, well, how big is it? And I gave her the dimensions, and it's like, 18 inches. He goes, how could it be so small? I go, you do realize this is a toy? Oh, I thought it was a real oven.
Oh my God.
Kids these days. Anyway, back to the ferry. Is that a ferry battle or?
This is a ferry battle. This is not my build. I was trying to find some pictures of the standard Airfix ferry battle so you can see the comparison. So I actually found this one last night, and the guy did a fairly good build on it, actually. He corrected the nose. That battle was always too short in the nose by about 1/8 of an inch, and you correct it right there. He used an aftermarket set, but he otherwise did a very nice build on it. Very clean build. You can see that kit is full of rivets. You can see the heavily sagging aileron fabric effect. So it's a different view of it. I mean, the kit canopy is fairly heavy in its detail and thickness, things like that. But the guy did a nice build, so that gives you a good comparison. Bomb bays come with it, the openings. He built it wheels up so he can put it on the stand. So that's the basic Airfix kit. You can see the heavy rivet lines over the airframe. It's raised line detailing. Okay, so the shape of the windshield is too steep. It should have more of a sweep on it, things like that. But that's Mr. Airfix. The prop, sort of like a flat front end to it. There's the whole center hub section is not there in the kit, so that's all good stuff. You can play with and add on to it. So let me quickly go back to my project there. That's been long going for the past 1.5 years probably. And it's finally gotten done with COVID. So that's my battle. It's finally finished.
We still have your original one.
Yeah, let's see the original one there, John.
The one on the stage.
It's the non-Wong.
Okay. We'll fix that. Here you go.
That's
now that's the John Wong I expected.
There's a real Wong for you.
There's a ferry battle. The kit has a number of shape issues. That short nose was a big one. It's easy to fix. The wing plan form is too much tapered to it. And I looked at it and I said, I got to cut it somewhere about 1/3 or half chord and add a wedge to it. And I'm not doing that. I want to finish this thing in my lifetime. I'm not doing that. The tail feathers were a little bit, they were both the vertical tail and the horizontal tail were a little too short in chord. So since I was cutting off the surfaces, I could add the chord in the
thick part.
And that's where I did it, and it looks reasonably close.
This 148, John? 148?
This is the Airfix
172nd.
172nd. Wow.
Yeah.
Very well done.
So you can zoom in a little bit. So all the rivet lines you get to get rid of and rescribe the model. The canopy, I replaced that with a Falcon vacuum form. It saved me making a master and making my own. Even though
those Falcon canopies are beautiful.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not like I haven't made masters, but again, if I can finish this in my lifetime, that's the preference. The fabric effect on the ailerons, I filled it all in. At first, I used Tamiya epoxy putty, filled it all in, sanded it smooth, okay. And I was going to do that ribbing effect by shooting Mr. Surfacer on it after I masked the different pockets between the ribs and just build it up with a thin layer of Surfacer primer. And so I did that. I shot the primer. It looks cool. Peeled the masking off, and it started lifting 3/4 of my epoxy putty. So back to the drawing board. Picked it all off, and went to CA and refilled it all, resanded it, and repeated the process.
So,
Here
hold
goes
on,
another week.
John, what lifted?
The
surface? So you did the old...
between the ribs with epoxy putty, Tamiya epoxy putty.
Oh, I thought you just built it up with surfacer.
No, the ribbing I built up with surfacer. So I filled it
Oh,
with epoxy
okay.
putty. Then I masked it and shot surfacer to build up the ribbing effect.
I see.
So when I pulled the masking, the epoxy putty came off, about 3/4 of it, which really made my day. I made up a few new words that day. And so went to CA, did the same thing, filled it, sanded it smooth, and repeated it.
What year is the kit? Is it from the mid-60s?
It's early 70s, late 60s kind of vintage. Yeah. I mean, the basic kit, barring the inaccuracies, does assemble reasonably well, right? Like most Airfix kits of the time, they do go together reasonably well. Take care doing it and comes together fine. Yeah, the accuracy issues. If I start from nose to tail, I'll show you another picture, but the propeller hub had to be fixed. I fixed the nose. The chin radiator, and you'll see different photos later on, you had to open up. It was a completely closed lump. So you had to open it up, and I put in a block inside the radiator. The carb air scoop I added. Everything inside the cockpit, front and back, is scratch built and added. I didn't have the balls to rivet this puppy. There's way too many parallel lines for me to rivet successfully and do it well. I said, no, not on this one. Even things like the machine gun was scratch built.
Oh.
Okay, it's a Vickers K. I'm surprised some of the armor guys could actually take a guess at it, and they guessed right. It's like, shit, I must have dumb luck got something right. The landing gear, and I'll show you the underside later on, was scratch built, details added to the bomb bay. So let's move on here.
John, do you have any photographs of the gun being scratch built?
I do, but not on tonight's presentation. I can send it around.
I would be curious to see how you did that exactly. Is it all styrene or is there brass in there?
I use stainless steel wire, but you can use brass, and that's only on the barrel, and I guess this the other chamber for the return. Everything else is styrene.
Okay, that's good enough.
Yeah,
that's cool.
There are places that I remember Small Parts used to sell hypodermic tubing.
Yeah.
Of various sizes, and I don't know how readily available that is anymore.
Check out Albion.
Oh, yes.
Metals, I think they have probably 4 or 6 different sets of all different sizes of telescopic tubing.
Yeah.
And they're just, if you can't.
Yeah, Albion. Yeah, I agree, Glenn.
Oh my God, they're just.
Yeah, Small Parts used to make this stuff.
A lot of times when I'm doing gun barrels, instead of going to this high-tech tubing, and this is maybe compromising on scale accuracy, is I'll use the thinnest stainless wire I can get, which might be 8 or 9 thou. It's guitar string, and I'll pull plastic tubing like sprue over it, so I'll get the tube effect. So the wire I use is the backbone for the barrel, and it'll be farther in. In this case, the muzzle.
Yeah.
The muzzle itself is plastic because I can just put tube over that.
Oh, nice.
John, have you ever stretched tubing?
Yes,
Like you would...
all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Works like sprue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, Wheels and Wings, and I'm sure it's in other places too, sells these bags that are like maybe 2 pounds, or maybe it's a pound of different offcuts from Albion or from somewhere.
Oh,
and
yeah.
AMPS.
I have, out of that big bag, I basically pulled out a whole bunch of thin tubes that I was using for hydraulic shocks.
Yeah,
or not shocks, but hydraulics, basically. So those will have odds and ends, and you can basically, because it has so many different pieces, it can sort of work for many different projects.
Yeah. So there's a view from the front side. No, it is not motorized, okay, before somebody asks.
Yeah, fan on it.
How did you do that?
Fan.
Yeah, it was a fan. Because I totally reworked the nose anyway, I could rebuild the prop shaft so it spins smoothly, so it's
That's cool.
using brass rod.
Well done, John.
Well, you did blow on it, it'll turn very smoothly. You get a better look here at the landing gear.
Right.
Scratch built. I'll have a view from the underside momentarily. Ring and bead sight. The ring sight just on the inside of the windshield. The photo etch seat belts are the only aftermarket anything in that cockpit. Because I'm cheap mostly, not because I can't buy stuff for it. Yeah, more views. The color modulation I did, I was post shading, and I'm not totally happy with it, but it's like, it's time to get this thing done and move on. So it's like, okay, it's close enough. It's a little too pronounced. I should probably tie it together a little more with the overall color. But
John, just so that we're on this topic, and Eric, you did it on yours, and I did it on my tank. I wouldn't mind having a brief convo after Gates' video on modulation. So that's the topic for tonight. So save these thoughts.
okay. There you go, underside.
Oh boy,
Oh, nice. Oh, nice.
very nice.
Base color is black Mr. Surfacer, and then again, color modulated, post shaded. All the details added to the bomb base. You can see also landing lights were changed out from the kit parts. Added the 303 Browning wing gun, single gun. Rescribing. There's a different view of the landing gear, so I won't talk about that just yet. If I find decent bombs, I'll put 1 or 2 in them, so I don't hide all the details in the bays, but I'd love to have a nice yellow bomb in that. And I may still rework one of the kit bombs because I can't find good RAF early war 250 pounders.
Let's check on shapeways.
Yeah, well, I may just take the kit one and just hack the fins off and put in something thinner and make it work.
What about Res Kit? Did they make anything?
I haven't spent a lot of time looking yet. I'm sure there are, but if it comes down to I got to drop 10 or 20 bucks, or I just rework a kit part to make one, I might just do it.
Yeah.
Now here is the joy of doing research, because I have very little in terms of actual books on the battle. So most of mine was done online on the internet, which is fine. There's a couple of preserved examples. There's a ton of information out there, and that was great. And I thought, okay, well, the kit comes with the open bomb bays. I'll rebuild the doors and stuff. And the kit bomb bay doors are one piece front to back. Well, clearly that's not the case if you look at photographs. So I said, okay, well, I found some good drawings on the battle, and it shows a 2-door per side arrangement, right? Front and back. So I go to all the nice trouble of building how many bays?
8.
4 per bay, 4 bays, right? 16 doors.
Yeah.
So I built it all up. The drawings showed that arrangement, and that's great. And then I found another photograph. Well, the battle doesn't have 2 bay doors per side of that opening. It's 3 bay doors per side of that opening. Made up a few more new
You're
words.
short 8 doors.
I made up a few more new words, and I said, I'm not doing another set of, well, I had to do 2 sets.
Oh, come on, man.
They break in different places at that stage. It's like, no, I'm not doing it. That's it.
It's a prototype.
Yeah. To hell with it. It's like I've already not corrected the wings. I'm not going to correct some of these. So to hell with it. Becomes a modeling exercise. That's it. So I left it as 2 doors per side and just open up that and all the shackle and stuff inside.
Well done, John. That looks really cool.
Yeah.
You can see the vent door on the radiator, chin radiator. That used to be one solid piece, so it's cut it away, open it up. Carburetor, air screw added. There's a different view of the landing gear. I'd like to shoot the designer that designed this landing gear. Find something simple. You've got all these freaking diagonal actuating rods that push in and out and actuate the gear, and the gear folds back, right? And been sitting here for days on end studying photographs of this, trying to figure out how it actually works.
Yeah.
So I can at least build something reasonable. And yeah, at the end of it, it's all scratch built. The only thing that wasn't scratch built was a big socket in the wing upper surface that took the landing gear. That was pretty solid. I can plug into that pretty easily. That's what I did. So the gear was built from brass wire with plastic tube sleeving to build it up along the struts. And these actuating arms that are there is a combination of wire and tube and stainless wire and whatever else I can cobble up. And trying to make 4 sets that look halfway the same was a challenge. I have enough trouble making 1 set of anything look good, never mind 2. So yeah, that's the underside. There's one view looking inside. Pretty standard cockpit. What you can actually see a little bit of, and it was kind of nerve-wracking for me, on that center greenhouse section, you're going to see 4 little V truss braces on the frames, plus the post antenna. It's easy enough to lay down that greenhouse without those truss frames, but on something that long on a greenhouse, it's like I probably should try and add it. And that gave me a few sleepless nights. It's like, how the hell do I build it so I can put it on there and have the top end and the bottom end made up properly? And I have no access to get at it in the middle of a very long greenhouse. So what I did was I located these 4 points. They were centered underneath the frames. So I can measure out the frames and transfer it to that center turtle deck. And I drilled a very small holes just to landmark it. And I built the V frames and attached it to the inside of the canopy. And the height on the V frame was going to need some adjustment. I was prepared to do a few sets of those to get it the right length. I finally got 4 that were fairly close. And then I hoped they would made up to the 4 landmarked holes I had. And then I figured if I have to open up the holes to make it do the final fitting, I could do that. And that's what happened. It actually went pretty well on the first go that it fitted. And I think they call that shit dumb luck. The post antenna you can get at fairly easily from the backside of the greenhouse. So I just left it loose with a slightly oversized hole. And once that post poked up and it's set, everything in place, I can get in there with a small drop of glue and nail down the post antenna.
Did that plane have a crew of 3 people, John?
It did have a crew of 3. The bomb aimer was the guy, a navigator, I think, sat underneath all this. So he didn't have much normal daylight apart from the holes looking around the pilot's seat, the gunner's port, and there were 4 windows on that turtle deck to give him extra light. If you go back, you can see there's a funny panel there. That one actually slid open for the bomb aimer to do his thing and do his bomb aiming. There's a different view of the inside.
When did that plane come into service?
This plane entered RAS service 1936, 37 kind of time frame.
Oh.
It was very modern in its day. It was thoroughly outclassed by the time the war started. And the RAF took heavy losses when they operated these in combat. It was kind of like the Stuka. Without fighter escort, these were all sitting ducks out there. The markings I did of this airplane is for Garland and Gray's aircraft that attacked the Albert Canal bridges in Belgium, May 12, 1940. They led 5 aircraft in to attack 2 bridges the Germans had captured, and all 5 were shot down. One of the crews, I think they made it back across their lines anyway. One was captured, the other 3 crews were all killed, including Garland and Gray. They led the flight. They did attack and hit the bridge, heavily damaged it, didn't drop a span. And in the process, paying the ultimate price there, the Garland and Gray were awarded the Victoria Cross. The third member of the crew was the gunner. He did not get a Victoria Cross for reasons whatever military authorities at the time, that they have. But they were the RAF's, I think, the first 2 Victoria Crosses during the war. I think.
Interesting story.
So
I'm not sure that many of you may know this, but the Ferry Battle actually became was a huge success as a training aircraft in the British Commonwealth.
Absolutely. Very well used, big stable platform for gunnery training, nav training, target towing. Yeah, very useful airframe, but just when you're up against fast moving 109s and stuff, you don't do well without a lot of protection.
Did a Ferry Battle crash at the air show years ago?
No, that was the Ferry Firefly.
Firefly.
Thank you.